you know what? I've got some copies of my book with me. So if anybody wants one, I'm going to give them away. I'm going to put some here. You can fight over them. Okay, I'm here. We're constantly trying to circumvent obstacles thrown in front of us. Constantly. You know, I was born of immigrant parents. My mother came to England. You know, my parents came to England, very highly qualified people. You know, my mother was a school principal before she was 25 years old. My dad was a lawyer, and they get to England, they're like, oh, you're so very intelligent. You can work in the post office, you can drive a bus. You know? So we've been constantly fighting that, and that's what I was brought up with, that constant struggle and fight, trying to make it. And you know, and when you're born of immigrant parents, you know, they're like, you would do better. Yeah. You know, we are sacrificing for you to be better. So you will do doctor, lawyer, accountant, engineer, nothing else.
And you don't want to fail, right? Because I'm not going back to my mom like, yeah, I quit my job at the Fed and I failed. Like, that's not an option. Not an option.
My mom didn't believe in the comedy thing when I told her I wanted to be so you're leaving engineering to become a clown. What is this nonsense? But then I got on TV, you know?
And then
my mom was like, everything.
They take all credit. All credit. To hear my mom say it, she started my writing career.
I wrote her first script. She doesn't know the words.
So how can the entertainment industry actively promote inclusivity and diversity in storytelling?
They can't, we have to. They're not going to. They're not going to unless they see the money coming in. Then they suddenly jump on the bandwagon. So it's up to us now to create these stories, make these stories ourselves, and sell it ourselves. That's it in a nutshell.
Over?
How easy is it to do that?
It's not. I've been in this industry a long time and having doors closed in my face for a very long time. And how Bob Hart's Abishola came about, I'd been, a year before I got the call from Chuck Lorre to create the show, I'd been pitching a show to all the networks based on my Nigerian family, and nobody bought it. Nobody. And so I put it aside and I was like, well, they're not ready for me. I've always felt like I've been ahead of my time in this industry. I've always pitched stuff and then nothing happens and then I see it being done with someone else. And then a year later, I get a call out of the blue from Chuck Lorre who says, I want to make a show, but I want a Nigerian female protagonist. And CBS was interested. So for me, it was irritating. I'm like, I've been pitching this shit the whole year, nobody wanted it. And this white man comes along and goes, I'm going to make a show with Nigerians. And everybody goes, yeah, that sounds amazing. So it was very frustrating, but I'm also grateful because he didn't have to do that. We've seen how African people have been depicted in movies and television in the past, and that's from white people thinking that they know us and they can make a show without our input. So at least he had the foresight to go, you know what, we're white guys, we don't know anything about the culture, let's get somebody who can give us a proper insight and help insight and make this thing authentic. So I'm very grateful for that, but at the same time I'm frustrated that I was pitching the show a year before and nobody was interested because they didn't know it took a white man to get a show about Nigerians made. So that's the industry we're in at this point.
How can we encourage and support the development of diverse talent both in front and behind the cameras? In the studio, with the writers, directors, how can we encourage that?
Well, what I did was I sneaked us in. So when we were creating Bob Hart's Abishola, I said to them, fine, if we're doing this show and you brought me in, you have to listen to everything I say. If I say Nigerians don't do this, then we don't do it. It's not going in the script. Right. And then I said, you know, I'm all for booking as many different black actors as possible from different backgrounds if they're good for the part, but Abishola has to be a dark-skinned Nigerian woman. I made that clear. I said it has to be, otherwise this show is dead. And so I made sure that I was in every casting for all the actors that came in for the show. I made sure I sat right next to these three white men. So when these Nigerian actors walked into the room and saw me, I saw their shoulders just Because they knew they weren't going to be asked to do any buffoonery. Because I was sitting there and I wasn't going to allow that to happen.
Right.
You know, and these actors, all of them came out. I remember the actor who plays Goodwin, Bayo Akinfemi, came out to me and he was like, Gina, I thank God every day for today. Every day. So I made sure I was in the casting room, behind the camera, in the writer's room. What I did, because I didn't want to scare these white people and go, you need black whites! I didn't want to scare them. So what I did was, because I'm a stand-up comic, so I said, I'm doing a show in Los Angeles. Come to the show, come to the show. So I invited the fellow showrunners to the show, and then I put all my friends to open for me. I just invited all my friends. I said, come and do a set. I didn't tell them what was going on. I was just, come and do a set. And so all my friends did sets. And then when the Chuck was like, oh, I like that woman, she was good. I was like, well then, she writes. You know that? She writes. And that's how I got my friends into the writer's room. I snuck them in that way, and now they've all gone up the scales. She's now, my friend Gloria is now an executive story editor. You have to bring all the people in, because otherwise you frighten them if you try and force it. You know, you just have to work ways.
Oh my God, I love it. And I was just going to say that we're actually friends with Bayo. Bayo was in...
I love him. I love him with all my heart.
Bayo was in Lagos 2 years ago for the AMVCAs. He was at FRIP as well. AMVCAs, yes. And he said there's such a... You pay so much attention to the nuances of Nigerians on your show. So like you said, there's no space for buffoonery.
Absolutely.
It's like...
And even if I don't know, I mean, I was born and raised in England, so I only know what I got from my mother. And if there's something I don't know, I will call Bayo. I go, Bayo, come to the writer's room, we need your help. You know, because I want to make sure it's done properly. So even if there is anything I don't know, I'm not gonna be one of those people that pretend I do and just wing it. Because I want it done properly. I want Nigerians to watch it. I don't want to get beaten in the street by Nigerians. So I want to make sure it's done. So I will call Nigerians and go, this is what we're doing. Yeah, this is what we're doing for the wedding. Is this right? Is this music correct? Is this the right clothing? You know, and he'll come in and go, no, we don't do it like that. And I go, okay, let's change it. Let's do it.
Nigeria Day at Essence. You know, that's also part of the globalization of the Nollywood industry. We're being recognized and it's great. I want to know what you think about Nollywood.
I want a piece of it so bad. I want to go and do something. Like, obviously I was born and raised in England, so when I go back to Nigeria, Nigerians look at me like... So I've had issues when I've gone back to Nigeria, and that isn't my fault. You know, when immigrant parents come to America, go to England, what they do is they want their children to assimilate so much that they don't teach you the language. Like my mother never taught us, and then at 14 she tried to teach me. I'm like, it's too late, Mama. I'm doing French now. It's too late. So this I think is a mistake that a lot, you know, because a lot of Indian parents, you know, at school the kids were English, but they go home and they speak their language. You know? And I'd say that anybody, Nigerians having children outside of Nigeria, please keep the culture alive, because I feel like I lost out on that. So when I go back to Nigeria, I'm not treated with the same kind of respect, because they're like, yeah, you're lost, you know. So I'd love to do work in Nollywood. I would love to. I want to, you know, I'm hoping that Bob Hartsabishola is doing well in Nigeria. So when I come there, I'll be welcomed and I'd love to work in it. But I need to learn Yoruba or something. Of course they'll teach you. But my family are from Benin, so my mom will beat me to hear that. But my mom speaks all this is the thing, my mom speaks all the languages. She speaks Yoruba. She speaks Edo. She speaks a little bit Hausa. She's like, and I'm like, and you never told me why? No, why? So this is one thing I would say, so we can bridge this gap, so that Nigerians from everywhere can go to Nigeria and still be accepted and work within the industry. That's what we need to do. We need to keep the culture alive for all of us there. But yes, Nollywood, I want a piece of it. Yeah, I want to be in there.
I'm going to ask you the same question. question, Carol. I just want to say before you respond, Nollywood is open for business. That's how we started the day, by saying Nollywood is here to prove that we're open for business.
I'm here, Gina Yashere at gmail.com. Gina at GinaYashere.com. Email me, my website, GinaYashere.com. Nigerian movie makers, let's go.